Hi, MBA students. What I'm going to do is to give you a little bit insight about the assignment coming up in week 4 about domestic economic analysis. So what we're trying to do here is to assess uh, the economic risk as you move into a country. So you're going to go and look at the tea leaves of the economy and try to figure out, is there internal balance? Is there external balance? And then give your economic analysis how to fix it. That's in essence what we are doing. So I'm going to go through a simulation to show you how to do it. So let's say you're going to be choosing a country. And so what we would do is to go to um, trading economics, and I pulled up, for instance, the data on Argentina as my country. So I want to first know, what is the state of internal balance in Argentina? So internal balance we defined as where you have zero inflation, zero unemployment in the country, and zero inflation was about 2% inflation, and zero unemployment is about 4% unemployment. So that's a quick number. So if I go and look at unemployment rate in Argentina, it's way to 10%, which is quite high. A lot of people unemployed. And if I go and look at inflation rate is 50%. Wow, that is going to be really, like if you're going to a movie, one day you're paying a ticket is $10, next day you're going and it is $15. So you are, it's unimaginable how you're going to protect yourself from rising prices like that. So our conclusion is that there is no internal balance. So then we go and look at, because of this, then we go and look at external balance, and that is the balance of trade, exports versus imports. And so when you look at uh, the current account, the difference between imports and export, it doesn't look like it's a it's a lot, because when I click on this number, uh, uh, they're actually having a surplus. So something that they're doing in their economy, they must be having good exports. And so external balance is not so much of a problem because they have money coming in, which is not a bad thing necessarily. And when you read here, it's going to give you a little bit more context about what it means. So, so now what do we do? Uh, your conclusion is that we don't have internal balance, and external balance is not zero, but it's positive, which is not necessarily a bad thing. So what kind of policies that should be put in place to get the economy into equilibrium? So I'll go back and say, well, either I'm a classical economist, new classical, I want limited government involvement, I'm a structural economist. I look at different structures in the economy to try to find out what's the problem, but I'll ultimately have to give an answer as to what we need to do. So I would say for internal balance, you go down the list and say, okay, Argentina has high inflation and high unemployment, and how do we fix it? High inflation means too much, the prices are going up high. So how to solve it is to take the extra money out of the economy. How do we take the extra money out of the economy? Through monetary policy. When you raise interest rates, the price of money goes up, people start spending less, it's more expensive to take out a loan, businesses start cutting back, people start losing their jobs, prices go down, less spending in the economy. So that's a contractionary policy to pull demand down. On the other hand, we have high unemployment. So what do I do to fix it? I know if I keep spending money, it's going to cause inflation. So I'm in a little bit of a bind. What should I do about unemployment? So here's where the insight of post-Keynesian institutionalists might come up. We'll have to figure out what's causing the unemployment. Is it because people have low skills that they need to be retrained? Is it because of one sector of the economy is doing bad or another sector is doing bad? So I'm going to have to understand what exactly is going on and then start doing something. So in the case of COVID, for instance, if the reason why we had unemployment was because of COVID, then the solution was, regardless of inflation, let's spend money and get people unemployment insurance to protect them. And don't worry about inflation. We'll try to figure that out later. So that's how you're going to start thinking about fiscal policy and monetary policy. You're going to use the word contractionary policy. If in the case of unemployment, we need an expansionary fiscal policy. That means we need to spend more, but spend it selectively. And then about trade policy, you're going to look at, okay, how can I, in this case, Argentina has a trade surplus, which is good. How could we channelize some of that surplus to build up the investment in the economy? Or if the case that you have a huge deficit, then you'll have to talk about trade policy. Should we encourage free trade, or should we put barriers to trade, such as tariffs and non-tariff barriers? Should we push our exports through trade agreements like World Trade Organization, or bilateral agreements with neighboring countries like Chile in the case of Argentina? And then we talk about poverty policy. How can we deal with if there's high poverty in that country? When the COVID cases, if this is a particular discussion here, how do we get up vaccinations high so that the economy can stabilize and grow? And so this is how you're going to use actual policy names and concepts to make a good answer. And then you'll come up to your conclusion that overall, in the case of Argentina, there is considerable risk, but I am hopeful if these kinds of policies I've suggested have been put in place, that it might recover and it'll be okay for me to invest. I won't lose my money going to a country. The economy will not tank. And so that is where I am. So kind of that's what I'm looking for in this answer. And a good answer is you'll have a table with these core economic indicators on it that you can pull out from trading economics. And then you're going to use words like internal balance, external balance, fiscal policy, monetary policy, trade policy, exchange rate policy. What am I going to do in each of these areas? And the more you have of those particular kinds of policies, the better and a better grade you can get. So I'm looking forward to reading your answers and hope this helps.